Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with Susan Feniger and Liz Lachman. Susan is a chef, restaurateur, media personality, and so many more things, and also the subject of the documentary, Susan Feniger Forked, produced and directed by her life partner, Liz. So first of all, I'm so excited to talk to both of you. What led to doing Forked, and what is the message that you hope people get from it?
Liz?
Well, Susan, Debra, I think, I had this footage that I had shot when Susan was opening Street. And I thought to myself, it's an unusual situation because she's at the top of her field, but now she's doing this without her partner, Mary Sue Milliken, for the first time. And so she needed to do it out of our home. She couldn't use their shared kitchens and staff and things to bolster this new project. And I thought, it's kind of like she's starting over. It's such an odd situation. I think someone should record it. So I had the footage. And why now? I mean, I think I got to the point where I am a narrative filmmaker usually. And I was like, I can't get the money to make my narrative projects right now. So I'm sitting on this footage. I may as well put it together. It's shot. It was like 90%, 95% of the film was done in terms of being in the can. So just put it together, Liz. Get over it. I mean, every time I'd get mad at Susan, I would stop working on it. So
I don't think
that's
she
why
ever
we
stopped.
never.
I don't think she ever stopped that because she never got mad at me.
That's why we never got a film out of it until now.
Well, and I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is great. They have all this footage, and I'm like, of course, she's with Liz. They have a lot of this documented, but there was more to it because it starts with all that you, Susan and Mary Sue did as like trailblazers, not just for women chefs, but women chefs in the media.
Yeah, I mean, when we first got approached by Food Network, we had already done, we had done not a regular show, but we had done things with Julia Child. We had, done, that was a PBS thing. And then Food Network, they asked us to come on and we did I think it was like a day in the life of a chef or something like that. And then they asked us if we wanted to do a show and we were like, yeah, okay, that sounds fun. So it was really, I think we shot over 450 shows on Food Network. So that was at the very beginning of Food Network, very beginning. So where they just turned the cameras on and
let it roll.
And
no editing.
We shot 6 shows a day, no editing. And, Mary Sue and I, we flew to New York and we'd be there for a week, shoot 30 shows a week. And, it was just, it was amazing. And we sort of thought we were having on vacation because by 6 o'clock at night we were done. And then we'd go out and live in New York, every night. So it was really, it was sort of the beginning, not Julia was certainly the beginning, but this was sort of the beginning of that new craze and certainly a Food Network when it was small and, mainly in New York. And it was a fun time. You'd walk down the street and the fireman would say, oh my God, I watch you at 3 a.m. I love, because we were on all day long.
They had really no programming. So they would show the shows 4 times a day of these girls. So they would shoot shows, but they were on at all hours. So bartenders would be off at 1 a.m, 2 a.m, and then they'd watch,
Yeah,
food.
It was a fun time at Food Network. And it was all about teaching. That was what was really, I think the most fun about that for me was it wasn't competition. It was teaching.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question. What do you think about all that programming now? Because it went from, okay, let's soup up the Julia Child era and let people learn how to cook at home 24/7, usually with you guys. And now it's like food competition, food fighting, grocery game. I mean, it's like whatever anybody could dream of food-wise is on TV, which in some ways it's good because food is really uplifting, but I want to know what you think has become of all the TV food stuff.
I never watch any of it. I judge on a bunch of those shows. And, I think, I mean, I guess anything that brings attention to food is great. It certainly has shifted from back when we started. I don't know about what the cooking channel does and whether that still teaches people how to cook. But, there's so much now on Instagram and, people are watching videos without Food Network that I think there's been a replacement of teaching in a different way. So I don't know the competition. I don't get any of those reality shows at all anyways, but sometimes they're funny. I like the ones with the kids. Those are quite, when I've judged on them, because it's amazing to see how talented some of these young kids are. It's unbelievable. That to me was the best thing the Food Network did, which was it got young kids excited about food. Because before that, I don't really ever remember people coming into our restaurants with their kids where the kids were like starstruck. That was cool. And I think it got kids interested in food, which is great because there's so much junk food around there. So when you get young kids interested in food, I think they're thinking a different way.
It's such a good point. But everybody loves food. Well, most everybody, our people. What is it about food that people love it so much?
Liz,
What
is it about food?
I don't know. I don't care.
Well, that's not true.
No. Okay. I'll say this. My mother didn't cook. So I didn't really learn cooking or to appreciate cooking. So really, I would say that obviously food is a universal language. People share over food. People gather over food. Family, even if it's not blood family, is created over food, eating together. There's a social quality to it. And I think that's part of it. I think that the things that I don't think don't have anything to do with that, what I just described, are these competitions. Now that's, in a way, I'm going to say something not very, you ready? Female versus male. I'm going to say the feminine, and it's not women versus men, it's more the feminine energy, which is let's share, let's come together, let's break bread together and create family. And then the more male energy is let's see if we can kill each other with it.
Although the women are just as competitive.
Well, right. Well, we've all been raised in that same kind of thought, but that same process, but that's just my take on it. But I'm a feminist, so.
Yeah. But I think, Liz, what you're saying, I think that food and sharing stories and celebration, and also it sort of gets rid of all language barriers. So when we're traveling, like you'll see in the film, when we're traveling in Vietnam and China, and the relationships that happen, even though you're not speaking the language, is very, very intense, and it's very heartwarming, and yet it's all around food.
For you, Susan, where did your love of food come from?
Well, my mom was a great cook, and she cooked all the time. And when I was really young, I hung out in the kitchen with her. And that's another thing in the film that you'll see, the fudge recipe trying.
Susan could not get, no matter how many times she made it. But very interesting to watch.
Yeah. But my mom she had great taste buds. So oftentimes when Mary Sue and I would do an event, my mom and dad would meet us somewhere and then cook with us. Mary Sue and my dad would drink in the back while they were cooking, and my mom and I would be up front working away. But she had great taste buds, and I think she loved to cook. So I think that's where I got it, although my sister didn't get it. Not the drive like that and the interest in it.
Did you ever imagine that this would be your life?
No, well, pretty early on. Now I've been doing it now for many, many years, but in the beginning, no. In the beginning, certainly in high school, I was an Ayn Rand freak, and I thought I'd be a business person. And then I was a psych major, and then I thought I'd want to be a therapist, and then I was working in kitchens. And once I worked in a kitchen, that was it. Then I fell in love with the kitchen, everything about it.
And you fell in love with a non-cook. So how did that happen?
Well, then I had to be in therapy because it's like, okay, she doesn't eat garlic. She doesn't eat pork. She doesn't eat shellfish. I mean,
I was a good Jew.
I'm a bad Jew, but she doesn't eat any of that. She doesn't eat anything. She doesn't even like to cook. She blah, blah, blah.
I barely salted my food.
It was like, how am I going to be with her?
Well, I'm funny.
Yeah.
That did
And
it.
smart and creative.
So,
Yeah. 28 years later.
And so how did you two meet?
Oh God. Don't make us argue.
Yeah.
Because we're going to start arguing if we each tell the story, because we tell it very differently.
Yeah.
I will tell you the beginning of it, though. I was set up on a blind date. My friends called me and they said, our friend is leaving her husband and she wants to date women and she's Jewish. She wants to date Jewish women. Will you go out with us? You're the only Jewish gay woman we know. And I was like, you guys need to get out more because this is LA. Okay. We're everywhere. And so I went out to meet a blind date with my friends at Susan's restaurant. And Susan was working the tables out in the front of the restaurant. And that's how we met. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because the rest we start fighting over.
That's how we met.
It's a good meet cute.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with leaving it there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this for anyone who's listening. I did write a screenplay using it, now that you said meet cute, because it is a funny story.
Yeah.
And every time we tell the story, everyone's got a different memory. And so I did write a screenplay for that, which has won a bunch of screenplay awards. And that is what I'm trying to get the money to make.
What's it called?
It's called Free Chickie. Don't ask. But it's about a group of friends and this remembering of because celebrating an anniversary and remembering how they met, and everyone starts fighting. So it's like that.
Oh, I love it. So when it comes out,
Yes.
we will talk again.
Okay,
that'd be
perfect.
great.
Something to look forward to. We love sequels, right? Especially when they're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make you play favorites, even though I really want to ask you both what your favorite foods are to eat and to cook. But is there something that you love that you'd love to share with our audience that we can put in the recap?
Sure. What's your
What do you
favorite
think?
food, Liz?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
I mean, popcorn.
Is that your favorite? We both love popcorn. That's one thing.
But that's probably why we love the millet.
Yeah.
puffs.
Well, there's a in the movie and in the street cookbook, there's one of my favorite recipes it's called millet puffs.
And they used to serve it at street restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically like Rice Krispie treats, but it's made with puffed millet and marshmallows and all Indian spices. So
There's
it's with
turmeric, there's fennel,
curry neem leaves.
right. Currants for a little sweetness.
Yeah.
So
And-
it's spicy and sweet. And then you roll them into little balls with the marshmallow.
And they
the
get a
millet.
bright orange color because of the turmeric. So there's cayenne and turmeric and cumin, curry neem leaves, and all those spices go into the marshmallow mixture and then with the millet. And they're so yummy because it's that sweet, savory thing that's so typical of Southeast Asian food, where it's sweet and savory at the same time. And they're great. And they're great for around Halloween.
Oh, perfect. Well, it sounds like they're great like anytime.
Yeah. They're fabulous. They're a great little snack and a surprise.
And I see the food stuff has leaked over on you, Liz. I mean, look at you chiming in with ingredients.
I know, this is what happened. Well, actually, when I was shooting the movie, which I didn't think I was shooting a movie, I thought I was just recording what was going on because it's so unusual. And when I went back later to look at the footage and say, well, do I have a film here? I noticed that all of the humor and all of the construction of the restaurant and everything went wrong. So I call this a culinary disaster film. But all of the construction and everything was really there. And then when she's cooking in the kitchen and they're testing recipes, and I didn't really shoot it that well. And I thought it's because I don't really care about the food that much. And so we had to reshoot the food. I had to go back in and actually sort of shoot beautiful food sequences, because for people who care about food, who come see this film, they're going to want to see some good food stuff. And I didn't have it in the beginning, but now we've got it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
But the millet puffs is one of the things that we did to music, with a lot of slow motion, gorgeous shots.
Yeah.
So I did have to learn what was in them.
Why did you choose, was it all about that arc of the street, everything leading up to it, and then what's next? Was that the whole plan? Or it wasn't until you saw the footage, you're like, okay, this will work?
I really didn't have a plan for a film. And I stopped filming when Street opened. As a matter of fact, the opening night party I didn't shoot that. And so we did some fancy footwork in the film to create a moment of dreaminess, because this is Susan's dream coming to fruition. And I thought about that because originally, when I didn't have the footage after that, I thought, well, that's going to be the end of the film. But as time went on, before I actually made this movie, things shifted a lot in the world and in Susan's take on Street and her whole adventure. And so it gave me more story, and it allowed me to not create, but record, take a look and say, here's where Susan started. She had this passion. She had this idea. She went on this adventure. And this isn't really where it ended, because there's more to this story than this restaurant. Even Susan was saying, who wants to see a movie about a restaurant getting built? And I would say to her, Susan, you don't understand. This is not about a restaurant getting built. This is really about what it takes to create and see a project through, and and go on that journey and be willing to just see what comes in life. So it's bigger than just the restaurant. I said, we're using the restaurant as our storyline, but it's a much bigger story than that. And that's why I didn't let her in on the editing, because she doesn't get it.
I like where it went. I like that it didn't just like, oh, well, here's
a
what happened to the
restaurant.
restaurant.
Yeah.
I like where it then went, of like, it's about human spirit, I think. Yeah.
Well, and we cannot get enough uplifting, we can overcome.
Yeah.
Ever, right? Well, I should have asked that as a question. What are you hoping people get from the film?
We probably have different answers to that, but
yeah, what do you hope?
Well, I'll say this. Originally, I was just hoping to tell an entertaining story, and really, it's again about someone, being able to get hit with problem after problem and still come through in the end. When Mary Sue's son saw this film at the Friends and Family screening, he's about 30 now. And he called her and he called Susan and he said, it was he and his partner he said, we couldn't get enough of it. We just want to see it again. We can't stop thinking about it. And it makes us want to live our lives with more passion. And I was thinking, wow, I wasn't even trying for that, but that's amazing. If that's what comes from this, I'm thrilled, Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing to hear that.
Do you have something you'd like people to get out of the film?
I mean,
sorry, Debra, I'm taking your role.
I'm good. This is a conversation. These are conversations. Converse.
I didn't even think there should be a film, but I guess now in seeing it, I think it's important because the restaurant business is so difficult, and particularly now. But if you're going to go into it, I think the way for me, it was, it's about being passionate about it, loving what you do. I think you have to be passionate about people and relationships, because you've got your staff that make it all happen, and you have, the customers that make it all happen. So I think it's about having fun with it and being passionate about it, and knowing that there's many, many failures in the restaurant business, many more than succeed. And so how do you live with that, and what do you do next with it? And so I think that was probably what I got from it.
So what's next with the film, Liz?
So we're doing film festivals now, and we've done a few. We did just win the Best Documentary Award, Audience Award in Chicago. So that was wonderful. And then we have, Austin and Vail, and we were coming back to California for a few more. So Ojai, I think, is in there.
Coronado
Island. Yeah.
A lot.
Nice. Well, with your Chicago roots and the cooking field, that must have been like especially gratifying.
Yeah, that was cool. That was exciting. Yeah, we had a good time.
And it was amazing to win that award because, it's a small festival, so you just don't know what's going to happen. So it was lovely to get that.
Susan, what is next for you? What are you cooking up?
Yeah, we've got, in middle of November, we're opening Palm Springs, a restaurant called Alice B. I'm excited about that. It's not Mexican, so it's the first non-Mexican since street days. And then in middle of December, we're opening up another restaurant in Las Vegas called Barbecue Mexicana, which is a quick casual drive-through, our first of those. But we have Barbecue Mexicana at the Raiders Stadium and T-Mobile and at Mandalay Bay, along with Border Grill. And then we've got our commissary, which is under construction, which is where we do our trucks, our Socolo truck, our Border Grill trucks, catering out of there. And we do right now around 3,000 meals a day for those in need of food, the homeless and seniors.
Wow. Well, never a dull moment. It's about feeding everybody. Is that it?
It is. It's, I love that we started doing the feeding of those food insecure during COVID, and it's just unfortunately continued to grow. But so I like the fact I like the fact that we have our taco trucks, and then we have our restaurants, and then the quick casual. So it sort of hits all different levels of income or no income. And I think it's about feeding people.
And why is that? I feel like I need to, the question is obvious, but I still need to ask it. Why is all this food joy so important for you to spread?
I mean, selfishly, I think it's, I get a ton of satisfaction from what I do, particularly the actual kitchen part, the feeding part, not the meetings. That's my least favorite part. But, the actual part of the hospitality part, it is just something that clicked for me when I first started it. And it's been 40 plus years of really, I love the profession. It just was the right fit for me. So I don't know. It's fun. I have a good time with it. I love the people part of it. I like wearing a uniform every day.
In different colors.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to make decisions, which is nice.
Yeah. It works for me.
Awesome. Well, I think you both found your passion and each other. So very, very fortunate. And it's been such a pleasure chatting with you both. I thank you. Where can people learn more about, well, they just need to Google you, Susan, but I'll ask it. Where can people learn more about you and also about the film?
Well, the film is forkedthefilm.com. That's easy. And they can scroll around and see what they want to see.
And Instagram, Instagram also, obviously, to Susan Feniger, to Liz Lachman.
Yeah, we actually cook together on Instagram. Well, not together.
Yeah.
I interview Susan while she's cooking in our kitchen. And she usually
she annoys me.
No, she demeans and is very mean to me because I'm asking questions that most people would like to know. And she says things like, "Are you an idiot?" And then I have to go, so mean.
So mean.
But we make people laugh. And that to me is worth it.
Susan, is there something you know now that you wish you knew at the start of your career?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can say if I were to look way back would have been, because I'm very focused, or certainly I was very focused, I might have taken a little more time to go out in the world and have a different kind of fun, traveling more and hanging out and not being so focused and serious. But not really. I always had a great time with what once I started in that world. And I think I've been to a number of cities and traveled a lot with food. And I think one of the best things about my career has been my success has given me a voice to speak about things and do things that are important to me and be able to raise money for causes that I feel are so important. So that's been a really wonderful gift that I've gotten from the career, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, you're both blessed, but also a blessing for those around you that your continue to pave the road for. So I thank you so much, Liz Lachman and Chef Susan Feniger, for joining me on Taste Buds with Deb. And thank you for tuning in to Taste Buds. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube and or your favorite podcast platform. And you can go to jewishjournal.com to get that wonderful recipe. I'm very excited to try it, and read articles that go with each episode. And you can learn more at Taste Buds with Deb. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Until next time, bon appetit.